Welcome to the Pickles Picks podcast with Necromedes the Thrice-Reborn and Pickles the Unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
We are covering Dune, Episode 4. Timestamp 1 hour, 7 minutes and 14 seconds through 1 hour, 30 minutes and 32 seconds. We're brought to you by Epic Fantasy Novels on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So we start out this section of the book with our little preface that they do in front of every chapter change. And we find out that Paul had no friends because the danger was too great when he was a child.
No, he had no friends of his own age.
Yeah, friends of his own age, except for Gurney Halleck, who is a troubadour / warrior. We're just going to call him a bard. Thurfir Hawat, who was a Mentat assassin. Duncan Idaho, who's a swordmaster who has like the greatest name ever. And Dr. Wellington Yo, who has a treacherous heart. And also his parents, Lady Jessica and Duke Leto. Duke Leto at this point is kind of like a god character, at least to me, because he is very important. He seems to be the reason that all of these people are together. Yet you don't really know anything about him.
Who are we talking about there?
Paul's father.
Yeah, we haven't even seen him in character.
Yeah, we haven't seen him. We don't know anything about him other than, Jessica loves him and Paul is his father. And everybody else works for him or hates him. So then we go on to the meaty part of the chapter. And we start out with Hawat and Paul in the training room. Paul has his back to the door and Hawat thinks that Paul is not paying attention. But Paul kind of has a sixth sense. And Hawat thinks that it's because Jessica has witchy powers.
It is. That's what he's been training in the weirding ways.
Yeah, he's been training in the goofy ways. Mm-hmm. It's very cool. So we find out that sandstorms on Arrakis are completely out of control, and that they can kill people and strip the meat from their bones. And Fremen recycle body moisture through these suits. It makes them stinky. And on top of that, they wear flowing robes that kind of makes them mystical looking. On the next planet that they're going to on Arrakis, Hawat sees Arrakis as the enemy. And he's not the only one. The Reverend Mother also sees Arrakis as a danger. And she believes that the world is supported by 4 things. The learning of wisdom, justice of great, prayers of the righteous, and a ruler that knows the art of ruling. And he doesn't think that anybody that came before Paul was skilled in the art of ruling. And Paul takes great offense to this because he loves his father. But everybody knows he's kind of doomed because of the decisions that he's made. And the Reverend Mother flat out tells Paul that his father's going to lose both the planet that he rules. And that Paul needs to be more one with everything around him in order to create great allies. Then we get into the Fremen hating the Harkonnens. We hear about a planet called Seleucia Secundus. We don't really know anything about them.
We know that it's almost as difficult to live on as Arrakis, Dune.
Right, but we aren't quite sure why. I mean, because Arrakis seems to have its own crazy set of problems that seem, specific to them because they're harvesting spice. And this other place doesn't necessarily have people on them for that purpose. So it makes me think that because people control a lot of the world around them, they do a lot of terraforming. They do a lot of weather control. Paul's family isn't rich, so they don't have access to those things, but other people do.
So what was the question? Do you have a question about that?
No, it was just a point that we don't know that much about Seleucia Secundus at all. It's just kind of mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Except though it's really, really hard to live on.
Right. Hawat's leaving a day early, and that's kind of how his little area of that particular chapter ends. And he leaves Paul, and Halleck comes in. Now, Halleck is the bard, and he comes in carrying this instrument on top of all of these different types of blades and practice weapons. And he tells him that Duncan Idaho has already left for Arrakis. And then Halleck sings a dirty song. And Paul kind of reprimands him gently for it, saying that if his mother heard it, he'd be in a lot of trouble. But he's, the bard is kind of like, he has better things to worry about, honestly. So they decide to do a futuristic form of fencing.
With shields.
Yes, with shields and rapiers. And
what kind of shields?
These like
the shield belt.
Yeah, it's a shield belt, but it kind of works like a force field, like a personal force field.
And you notice how that works? It is a personal force field.
How it works? You poke at it.
The quick actions won't go through only slow actions.
Right.
So you have to slowly go through the opponent's shield and then poke at him.
Okay.
So that bullets and laser beams won't work on it.
Okay.
Well, laser beams you'll find out later.
Okay. We don't know that much quite yet. Halleck is not amused by Paul's laziness because Paul kind of says that he's not in the mood to fight that day. And he gets really mad because he's not training him to fight just for pleasure. I mean, he doesn't have that type of luxury. So, Halleck and Paul go at it for a while, and
both Luther and him both emphasize the danger that they're in. They're in. Luther yells at him for having his back to the wall, and Gurney, he straight up fights him.
Yeah.
So they both, this anticipates how much danger they're going to be in when they land on the planet of Arrakis.
The fight ends in a draw. And then they decide that Paul's going to fight with a dummy. And that's fine. So Paul gets ready to do that. And he kind of, gets into the point where he's thinking about the fighting and he's kind of, zoning in on what he's going to have to do. And for some reason, his thoughts go to his dead sister.
His dead sister?
Yes. Who was a sex slave.
Oh, yes.
In a bordello for Harkonnen troops, Paul's only 15 and he's thinking about his sister.
I think you think Gurney had a sister. Not Paul didn't have a sister.
Okay.
I think you got that mixed up.
Okay, because I've got that really mixed up.
Yeah, Gurney has it in for the Harkonnens.
Okay.
So he is itching for a fight.
Okay. I don't know why I got that wrong in my head.
Their voices are relatively similar compared to the other ones.
Yeah.
In the audiobook.
Yeah, they kind of are.
I got it confused for a second too.
Okay, so. And Halleck notices that Paul has been studying different sorts of swordplay because he's not recognizing the style that Paul is fighting with.
I assume that's the weirding ways or something. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not sure they use swordplay in the Bene Gesserit, but we'll see.
I'm not really know. So, let's go back to the beginning and why Paul didn't have any friends as a child. I mean, I realize that there are definite...
He didn't have any children of his own age to play with.
Right. But, I mean, you can say that tutors are friends, but they're not really.
Well, they can be friends.
Well, they can be. But,
sometimes it's the only friends you got.
Well, sometimes they're the only allies that you have. But I'm not sure how much of a two-way street it would be, for, somebody who's pretty much being paid to hang around somebody else.
I hear you. But it seems like they were generally friendly. They did introduce the characters fairly well.
Yeah, they did. Well, we didn't, see everybody. We didn't see Duncan Idaho, who's got one of the greatest names ever. And he's supposed to be the Swordmaster.
Swordmaster of Junez.
Right. And we didn't see Dr. Wellington Yo.
Yui. I think it's Yui.
Yui? Okay. And he is supposed to be the one who
betrays
everyone. And they talk about his treacherous heart. And then, of course, Paul just has his parents to play with. And it just makes me kind of wonder about the way that the galaxy politics work, because normally there would be a court, wouldn't there? Do other people have courts?
I don't think there's a court.
No?
Well, there's this assassin thing going on. They assassinate each other. That's why everything's ramped up to level 100. No friends for poor old Paul.
But what started this? Has it always been like this?
I think so. It's like feudal. It's like feudal. It's like Game of Thrones ramped up to 11.
Right, but I mean, even within houses, there would be other children to play with, is what I mean.
You'd think there'd be other, because really they don't show anybody in the royal family but the top level. You'd think there'd be, barons or whatever underneath them. We never get to hear it. I'm not sure it works.
And Paul's father is a duke, and in the other family, the leader is a baron, and he's, the highest rank of their particular family.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works. I don't think it's explained very well in the whole book.
Okay. So let's go back to thinking that Jessica's a witch and Paul has a sixth sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Paul is manifesting different powers? Do Bene Gesserits normally have that particular power to sense things in a room?
Oh yeah, they're super hyper aware. They can detect truth. There's truth sayers. That's one of their abilities. They have the ability to command people with their voice, called the voice.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to sense how other people are feeling, almost like reading their mind, just by detecting minute changes in their facial expressions. They're hyper aware of their surroundings.
Okay.
So it's not unusual that he'd be able to detect, like, Doofer's footsteps.
Before the Bene Gesserit started the breeding program and only having girls.
They don't always have girls.
They don't always have girls, but Jessica was told to have a girl?
Yes.
Okay.
But they mostly have girls.
I was going to ask, do the other boys in the breeding program have this particular sixth sense, or do you think it's just Paul?
I think there aren't any boys in the program, or hardly any, only those that got close to being a Kwisatz Haderach, which at this point we all know about Paul and other ones who are dead.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Maybe there are a few, but not many, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
And no one has the ability to see into the future that he appears to be manifesting with his dreams.
I thought that the Reverend Mother normally would have had to go through a process to be able to see into the future.
I don't think they can predict the future. I think that's what they were doing, like with predicting the fall of the Atreides.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not. I don't think that's the level of what they're seeking in the Kwisatz Haderach. I think that's just political guesswork on their part. Yeah, he looks like Paul's got the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're searching for. That's the ultimate control of the whole world, the whole universe.
Right.
If you know the future, right?
Well, does it?
You'll find out. Well, not this book, the next, maybe.
All right. So, it's really interesting that how with all of the assassins and everybody that's running around trying to kill each other, the main enemy that he sees is Arrakis, and so does the Reverend Mother.
Well, it definitely is an enemy. It's the deadliest planet they know of, even worse than Seleucus Secundus.
Right, but what type of, they're going to be the ruling family. I'm going to imagine they aren't going to be, just wandering the wasteland of the planet. If they're taking over from where the Harkonnens are, wouldn't that mean that they still retain their seat? I can imagine the Harkonnens just aren't sitting there not in luxury. They talk about the room that they were in the one time we did see the Harkonnens, and it did seem to be fairly luxurious. So I'm going to assume that Paul is going to a place, at least by our standards, would be fairly comfortable.
On Arrakis?
Well, I mean, it's not like... where do the Harkonnens stay? They've got to be in some sort of crazy mansion. I don't see these people... I mean, if they're going to be anywhere in the world, it's going to be on top of the one water source.
Well, he did say that he'll never have to worry about water.
Right.
So they're going to be living in some kind of palace, I assume.
Right.
But it's not going to be anywhere near nice and comfy as Caldale.
No, it definitely isn't. But, So
what are you concerned about?
I just think that there doesn't seem to be enough preparation. It doesn't seem like it, at least from Paul's perspective in the palace. I would think that he would be seeing more military activity involved in the major moving of a house from one place to another. And we don't really see that. We just kind of see, oh, well, he left yesterday, and I'm leaving today, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Well, I assume this was going on for a few weeks or a month.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the last of it because they'd only move the principals when everything was ready.
Yeah, just to me, it seems a little bit casual. But we don't know anything about anybody. We don't know about their troops. We don't know about how they protect themselves. They have one assassin, and he's a mentat, and that is definitely scary in and of itself.
How do you like Piter versus our good guy mentat, Thufir?
Yeah, I like this guy better.
I like the characterization. They feel they got the evil versus the good.
Yeah, Piter is so evil, he's almost a caricature of a person.
I think the Baron was even less evil than Piter.
Yeah. Well, the Baron, is he really evil, or is he just ambitious?
Oh, so he's evil.
Yeah, but you can be ambitious and, I mean, he's evil because he has the opportunity to be evil. Piter is evil because he wants to be evil.
Well, he likes pain or inflicting suffering?
Yeah.
What does he want to do with Jessica is what I
have no idea, and I don't even want to know. He's a creepy dude.
He is a creepy dude. Okay, so how would you give it? What would you give it? 10.
This chapter I would still probably give a 7 out of 10.
You don't think it's building up?
7.5.
You don't think it's building up to arrival on Arrakis and all the danger and inevitable doom?
Well, I think it is, but I also think that I'm
just amazed with how much they give away with, the intros, so we know we become something great.
Yeah,
so
it really is. So we know from the beginning, it's almost like, I know that you don't really watch My Hero Academia, but in the beginning, the whole theory behind it is, and this is a story of how I became the greatest superhero on the planet.
So we know he's not going to die.
Right, so he's not going to die. He's always going to have setbacks, but it's not like he's going to be in any sort of real danger.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it definitely affects the way that you're going to read the book, because I'm not going to be as worried about Paul as I might be.
Is Paul the hero?
I think Paul is the hero. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any reason to write it that way.
Okay. So do you want to be ruled by a Kwisatz Haderach that can see the future?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I want to do that. I mean,
Well, that's about it for today. See you next week for next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.